I'm really honored to introduce our keynote speaker, Atasha James. I got to meet Atasha, and I see her family is with her as well today, I believe, so welcome all of you here today. Atasha has so much in her background that you'd want to know, and I'm sure she'll talk about some of it. You can see more of it online. I'll just say a couple of highlights. Atasha James serves as the principal of Leckie Elementary School for the District of Columbia Public Schools, otherwise known as DCPS. Prior to becoming principal, Atasha taught at both the elementary and middle school levels before completing her doctoral studies and working with the Teacher Education Institute at the University of New York at Buffalo. Atasha has led schools in Buffalo City Schools and Anne Arundel County Schools before making DCPS her home. Atasha has many achievements. I'm just going to mention a couple. In recognition of her achievements, DCPS offered Atasha a 3-year appointment. She was awarded the Rubenstein Award for Highly Effective Leaders. Atasha is also a Mary Jane Fellow Mentor Principal and is among a short list of school leaders recognized for closing the achievement gap in both math and reading in 3 consecutive years. David Osborne's completed report on education reform in DC shows Atasha's school is one of the few traditional schools competing and successful in one of DC's most challenging areas of the city. So welcome, Atasha James.
All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Wayne kind of stole my thunder this morning, taking our roll call this morning. But just the same, welcome to every state, every city, every local jurisdiction that's here. I'm Atasha James. And this is not up this morning because I'm bragging, but to share with you the story. I'm a DCPS principal and I love my job. I love my job a few years later. And I left my hometown of Buffalo, New York in spring of 2011 to come to DCPS because I believed in the mission that Michelle Rhee and Kaya Henderson put forth. And if you know anything about Michelle Rhee and Kaya Henderson, they're some of education's most powerful paragons. And so when I was sitting on my sofa back home in Buffalo, New York, and I saw Michelle Rhee's mission, I literally emailed and said, if I ever get to join forces with you, count me in. So before we know it, a recruiter came, met the recruiter, my husband, family, and I, we packed up and we moved 500 miles. I left my tenured principalship, where I also had health care that I paid $0 into, to come to Washington, D.C. Not only were we the example of what not to do, we were among the worst. When you think about everything that could be bad, we were an example of everything bad. And not to mention, I'm new, again, from 500 miles away. I get the most challenging assignment in Ward 8 on Wheeler Road. So if you know anything about DC, we have 4 quadrants: northwest, east of the river, typically affluent, well-to-do families. Well, you go east of the river and you get into Ward 8, where you have high crime, high unemployment, high poverty, high anything bad, you name it, we're #1 in it. Not only am I placed in Ward 8, I'm in a school that was the remnant of a design, open schools. So not only was I in a school that had no windows, literally no doors on the classrooms, and half walls. Needless to say, I had a challenging assignment. I literally came in that first weekend with my sweatpants, my family, and we had to clean up the school because for a long time they were playing school. And now, coming in, I decided it was time for us to do school. And so, it was so bad. On paper, it showed that I had 30% of my population had special needs. Impossible, you say. How could one school with 250 children have 30% of its population have special needs? So I thought, we're going to do a soft audit, and let's look at this. So back at the ranch, in the context of this, we were a part of a network that was a school-wide application model, formerly known as SAM. And the leader of that SAM network was our one and only Amy and Wayne. And so when I begun to unearth some of the secrets embedded in that 30%, we found a lot. And when you start unearthing things, you know, people become unsettled. Things start to move, places, people shifting. And they want to know, who are you? What are you doing here? Please go away. And there were so many days when I fired myself and then hired myself back the next day and called Amy, like, maybe they are right. Maybe I have it wrong. Maybe we have it wrong. That absolutely wasn't the case. But what we found was that we had some poorly written IEPs. We had people justifying jobs. We had children who had surpassed their goals years ago, and we would literally be in meetings, and the goal would say, for example, said child would learn how to write their name and say it. Well, babe, get up to the board. Write your name. She's done. Can we move on with this now? Great, we've done this. So there was a lot of that, but there were also some significant issues where we had children who actually legitimately needed and deserved to be in other places that were still at the school. One tragic day, central office asked if they could use my building to host a professional development. I told them up front, we're not ready for company yet. Please, we can't have visitors. No, it's shut off except to the kids and the teachers here. We're not ready for company. And they said, no, 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 you have a big space, we need it. Suit yourself. This is so true, and I can't believe I'm divulging this, but it gets better, right? Bernard was his name, and Bernard literally had psychosis. He had a trifecta. Not only was he bipolar, Bernard at times thought he was a dog. And if Bernard saw people who he didn't recognize, he would go into dog mode. So many a times, imagine me in my heels, literally running up Wheeler Road, fencing to get Bernard back. And so some of our work involved finding a place where Bernard could be safe. We couldn't afford for him to elope down Wheeler Road, jumping up fences. He needed to be safe. Why was he still here? Needless to say, the meeting is going on. Bernard goes in on all fours and starts barking at the presenter. Excuse me, everybody. Bernard, get over here. And they said, oh my God, it is really rough over here, you think? And there it began. And so when we would do the meetings, I would pull people in, you know, and say, listen, what we're gonna do now is get this right. We're gonna look at this, we're gonna look at the child, we're gonna do these things. And so you have a choice. Either you can work with me, or you can work with Amy. No, I'm going with Amy. No, I'm going with Amy every time. So after a few meetings, you know, it would be the same introduction. Either you can work with me or you can work with Amy. So finally a teacher, she says, where's Amy from? I said, why you ask? I need to know. Amy's from Kansas. That's how they make white girls in Kansas? No, I'm not working with Amy. I said, well, look, we have no choice. You don't want to work with me, you're going to work with Amy. So word moved around school pretty quickly that Amy would come, she would stay, and she would not move until it was done. So by the time we were done, we had reconciled who needed to stay, who could stay, what was happening, and we actually had a school. So I'm standing before you today as a recovering addict of what it's like to work in triage. Like, I recognize, like, when you're in the schools and you're saying to yourself, as a principal, you only have a 5-year shelf life generally. And you're saying, how am I going to do this impossible work quickly with who? And so for me, swift is more of a verb than it is anything else, right? When you talk about school-wide, integrated framework, it's just not a thing. It's what we have to be. It's what we do. And this is a team. So when I frame this conversation, I like for us to think about it as what we're doing to build our arsenal of winning strategies. Right? When we talk about how are we going to get this done, I want us to think about Swift being a part of our winning strategy. And I can stand here today and say, I'm a DCS principal and I love my job because I do love my job. I, of course, love being with the kids. I love being able to hire and place great teachers in great places. I love being able to think about myself as not a principal, but a chief design officer, a leader in equity design. And part of my winning arsenal is our SWIFT framework. And I get to think about how I'm going to make sure all means all, really. And to see the fruits of our labor on the other side are so inspiring. I can't think about another job that would get me up every single day to come in to serve at this level. This is the toughest work that any of us could be asked to do. We can all earn money in other ways, but to be at the call of service right now in today's society is a major thing. So come join me. And so here we are. We've closed down MC Terrell, and I had an opportunity to reset my principalship. And I wanted to remain in Ward 8. And so what you see here is my lovely school during cherry blossom season. And our school sits in Ward 8 in the tippy end of Southwest, and I have almost 600 students. And up until literally a few weeks ago, I've never had an assistant principal. But until we got so big and I was finally successful in cloning, I have now expanded my leadership team to include an amazing assistant principal. But the reason we're up to 600 from 360 or 70 children is because the kids and families actually literally rallied to the chancellor and said, we're not sending our kids to the other neighborhood schools. And so you have to figure out what you're going to do. And so to that end, we have a demountable, a trailer in the parking lot, and our school's growing that way, which is a huge testament to what we're doing, where we are, and the tribute to DCPS. And so as a part of a network that has been recognized as being the fastest urban growing school district in the country, that's a big deal, right? DCPS was at a place where we were so bad, an entire charter network erected to remedy our shortcomings. And now families are coming back. Families are coming in droves. At the time when I first started, we had teachers, like Kaya Henderson said yesterday, who loved Jesus and couldn't get jobs anywhere else. Years later, we have teachers who not only love kids, but are darn good teachers. And they believe in our mission, our beliefs, our values, they're aligned. And what we do now is specialize in the impossible, right? And that's what I want us to think about. You are here because you specialize in the impossible. And that's what we've come to do at Lecky, specialize in the impossible. So I get to the school, I have some things that I know for sure. But the work is selling that or telling that and integrating that into a new community with new people, with new friends, with new everything. And so for me, being a chief equity designer, right, part engineer, part teacher, but here I have one chance with this one team, making sure that we can get it done right this time. And so here we go. I made an incredible ask of the staff. I said, what if we departmentalized K through 6? Quiet. What if every teacher only had to specialize in one specific subject area? Quiet. What if, and the what ifs kept coming, right? And so we like dampened the doubt with the what ifs. And they said, well, okay, we'll give it a try. We'll see what this might look like. And so there it began, right? When you talk about seeing the school as one big gigantic canvas and figuring out where to put your best people to meet all kids' needs at all times without intervening a child to death and enriching them to life all at one time where it all looks seamless. It's possible, and we did it. And so here at Lecky, we have figured out not only how to organize our school in a way that leverages our best people in every classroom all the time, we do it with love. And so part of this is leading with love, understanding that teachers who are burnt out and tired are that way for a reason, right? They come in every day, throwing themselves against the wall, trying new things every day. And at some point, we become worn too, right? We do begin to think, can we really do it? And can we do this where they have love? Can we do this in such a way that our authenticity and our big heart comes across in the work? And that's where the rub is, right? It's easy to love somebody who comes to school every day on time. Loving Bernard is a whole nother situation. But when you get students who need us most to click, when they get it, that's where the magic happens, right? That's when you figure out, oh my God, we're on to something big. This is when we raise our floor to shatter a ceiling, right? That's where that design, that's where this work comes in. But it's all rooted in love. And kids know and can sniff out the fakes from the real, right? We see it every day when we have a substitute who's coming in to follow their dream in the interim and the classroom gets turned out. Or the teacher whose calling card has disconnected, but she still comes to work every day, right? We know who's doing what. We know who we need to talk to. The kids can sniff that out. So it has to be led with love every single day. And I'm proud to be president of the Kids Union first, right? So part of my job title is just that. And at school, kids know for sure that my door is always open to them. Right? Student satisfaction is at an all-time high at the school. And that's really an interesting concept to get children's feedback and buy-in into the work that we're doing. And so leading with love means listening to kids and taking their suggestions to heart. So when we first arrived and we started these student satisfaction surveys, 87% of the kids said they were happy at school and that they would recommend the school to a friend. That's not bad. We're up to 93% where kids would recommend their school to their peers. That's a big deal, right? Yeah, I was clapped on that. That comes at a cost, right? Because that relationship that you have as a school leader with your teachers becomes compromised at times, right? So some of the conversations include, Miss So-and-so, I really have to bring to your attention the kids' recent complaints about you. They say that you're very mean, you don't give second chances on homework, and when I come in the room, you do new things. It's pretty strange, but I want to bring it to your attention just the same because the kids are talking about you. Mrs. James from Ashley, you know, you have these accelerated reader goals, and I really read that good, but I don't want you to be upset with me. So I have a proposal. Ashley, well, if I listen to the book and watch the movie and pass the quiz, can that count? Absolutely. Thank you. When kids get to the point where they care enough to bring you the suggestion, we've won. When the kids care, and I can tell the teachers, hey, which is kind of embarrassing when you think about it, Ashley found a way to accommodate and modify the ask on her own. Not sure what we're here for. And so also, when we put together this departmentalized notion, we became better together in ways that we could only have dreamed of. And it's amazing. We have kindergartners who have asked the teacher, why isn't a pyramid a prism? A rectangular prism? We said, what are you speaking of? I just don't understand. So the teacher, at planning, she says, you know what, Kobe, by the way, who is autistic, he says to her, I don't understand. Somebody needs to explain the difference between the rectangular prism and a prism. What's the difference? Fascinating, right? He not only stretched his classmates who believed in what his question, he needed an answer. I said, well, what did you tell him? She said, well, I had to look it up. She said, one has a base and one doesn't. Right? Our kindergartners, again, they wanted to know. They were doing their tens frame. The kids say, well, wait a second. Is 0 a number? Why isn't it on the tens frame? I said, what school do you go to? What school? I said to the teacher, what did you say? I told them it didn't have value. They said, well, why do we talk about it? They said, well, we'll get to that. I said, be prepared. Be prepared. The kids, when I talk to them and say, well, how are you going to start your essay? What's your strategy? Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to use a simile or a metaphor today, but I know I'm really eager to grab the reader in. what school do you go to? Where are we? But making the shift to triage and finding a space where now you have to serve a group of kids who are curious, who now have their own authority and can thrive, is a different beast. So when we talk about all means all, sometimes we're locked into that area of performance where we only see that hustle, where we're only burning out. And we can't live that way. We're talking about sustainability. We cannot live this way. And so part of the school design was me thinking about teachers. I was a teacher. I remember my first job, I got paid like $800 every 2 weeks. And I would tell the principal, you know what you're paying me, right? You can't expect me to differentiate round the clock, look at data, turn that around, and make it into a lesson in a classroom tomorrow. You know, my grandmother used to say, you can't get blood from a turnip. We have to make this easy for teachers so that they can have full careers, right? We're used to this new generation that hops around the jobs and doesn't find a home. I'm old school. I looked for a forever school system that I can retire from and call my own so that the remnants of my work lived after me, right? When I think about my daughter becoming a teacher someday and walking in these shoes, I don't want her coming into a situation where she can only work for a few years as she's paying off her student loans. I thought, what kind of job would I have a master's degree and need to ask an adult to relieve me? I need to go to the bathroom and have to ask somebody to relieve me with a master's degree. This is crazy. So in my mind, better together came more as a directive than a tagline. We better together. Because it's serious, because the fallout from pervasive failure and inequity is insufferable. We're not ready to handle this, right? And so when we talk about what we see at school as a microcosm of what's playing out in the real world, we kind of have to take some responsibility, right? We talk about disproportionality. We talk about kids of color being identified in ways that our white counterparts aren't being identified. Is it any surprise then that there's still a disproportionate number of black people being pulled over? It's happening in schools all the time. Like, we criminalize people and children in school, and we teach people how to treat each other. And so it does become subconscious, because as you come up in school, all you've seen is a certain group of people be treated differently. And that plays out in big adults. And as you see, we don't know how to deal with this. The kids want to know who's in charge. We don't have a good answer. What are we going to tell the kids? So my fear about doing this job is not so much in me making no child left behind mandates or making even the district goals. It's about making kids proud, because the moment kids don't believe in us, we're done. The moment kids don't believe that we can and that we are here to do it, we're done. We may as well pack up and go home. If our kids don't see us as the hero, they're going to see us as something else, and we're actually not ready for it. And that's pretty sobering. So we better together. And so at Lecky, again, I've taken every single learning, doubled it down to bring it to today. And so when we talk about reading and the expectations and thinking about teacher sustainability, we design systems that can support all learners at one time, and it plays out. So going into schools, it's invisible. That's the look we're going for. We're saying, how can we serve kids in such a way that we put our best talent in the classrooms before the kids who need it most? We do that. There's a seat at the table for everybody. Small group instruction, being able to meet the needs of children, giving them right time feedback at the point of service. That's how we're going to get it done. There's no shortcut. There's no program. The only thing that works all the time is the teacher. Small group isn't just for reading. right? You have small group math. Look, who knows it, who doesn't? It's that simple. But it's you pulling up a group of kids and saying, show me, prove it, tell me more, and making sure that the teacher owns that. So when we meet once a week, who knew it, who didn't, what are you going to do about it? It's really that simple. And that's it. Who knew it, who didn't, and what are you going to do about it? It wasn't, did the poor black kids get it this week? Who knew it, who didn't, and what are you going to do about it? It's funny. Our school has grown so big. The notion of mainstream is funny. Where's the off stream? We don't have another room. Where are you going? You better figure it out in the classroom, and since you got some extra space, you're going to take a couple other kids who didn't get it either. Where else would you do it? It's kind of crazy when you think about it. We've allowed for this narrative to go on. Oh, say we're going to mainstream versus what stream? And so when I tell you, this year has been amazing. I dreamt it, we executed. And that's almost everything. Implementation is almost everything. But we gave the teachers parameters. We gave them fine instructions. We gave them full lines to do this work in. And so that's one of our babies, and he started doing initial sounds. And he's working at the table. When I tell you, by year's end, so if you're familiar with any of these metrics, which you probably are, they mean something to you. Compared to my first assignment, my first school, in 3rd grade, only 5% of the kids were reading on grade level. What do you do with that? So doubling down, moving forward, when we got to Lecky and we decided that we would departmentalize kindergarten, we said, what if we could eliminate the achievement gap? What if we could ensure by 2nd grade that all kids could read at or above grade level? No matter what. If we could get a spaceship out to the moon, we certainly can get kids to read, can't we? Well, at least that's what we said to ourselves, can't we? Baby, we did it, okay? 97% of my kindergarten left reading at or above grade level. 25% of them almost at a 3rd grade level. And so what motivates us, right? How do I get into the heads and hearts of the people? And it's kind of crazy, but we all are kind of crazy to be here. And so I draw inspiration from Joseph Campbell's A Hero with a Thousand Faces, right? I love it because he uses, well, anyway. He says, from the paragraph that we draw, the mythological hero is a champion. And this mythological hero's job is to slay the dragon. And the dragon to be slain by him is the dragon of the status quo. What job do you get up every day and be a dragon slayer? Right? You get to slay. You get to actually, in your mind, be a mythological hero. So the call to action is clear. We have an opportunity to be a hero. Who doesn't want to be a hero? Well, at least when I get up every day and I get it together and I come in and put my uniform on, I get to be a hero. And I stand in that conviction. I stand in knowing that I am a hero to some, because the truth is, education is it for so many of our kids. Many of them, most of them, don't have a trust fund. In fact, not only am I a hero to the kids, I'm a hero to parents. I need somebody who's going to work as hard for my kids as I'm working for their kids. Because come 18, come senior year, they have to go. They have to move out. It's either college or career. But unless somebody is slaying for me every day, that might not happen. We get to slay every single day. Status quo, disproportionality. Status quo, pull-out services. Status quo, teachers being mean to kids. Status quo, burnt-out teachers. Status quo, not providing structure. Status quo, whatever that status quo is in your system, you know it. Slay it. That's what we're here for, and you have backup. So part of this notion of swift is that we're part of a winning strategy. You have people who you can call, who you can text, who you can email, who you can ask to come walk through your facility at any point to give you feedback so that you don't have false peaks, right? You're like, oh, we did it this year. No. What happens when you're gone? What happens when the implementation isn't what it needs to be? We don't want false peaks. We want sustainable performance to continually go so that when we get to the point of 3 years later, you can fade back and say, wow, systematized status quo is what we're undoing. We're laying new tracks to systematize equity. We're leading the way and putting new tracks down. We're doing a complete overhaul. And this time, all can mean all if you're here leading in service, in truth, and you decide to be the cheerleader, the champion for kids. It really is that easy. And so for me, right, this is your team. Who are you? I'm Jean Grey, and I have my Wolverine, and I have those people who bounce you because you can't do it all. There's no way. When we do our personality tests and we figure out who's what on the team, I'm usually always on the left, and my teammates are somewhere on the right. And so when we get together, we have a powerhouse. We're champions together. I cannot be a champion alone. But guess what? When I can give a look to my counterpart, and she already knows, look, that's magic, that's synergy. And better together now is a real thing. I am better together. The kids are the beneficiaries of better together because they deserve it. Why not? I know it sounds so cheesy and cliche, but do you worry about who our future dentists, architects, and lawyers are going to be? Sometimes you see the kids and you're just thinking, look, team, you need to make sure X, Y, Z. Are we settling on a mediocre cadre of doctors? I sign every child's report card, and I leave them with a simple charge. My expectation is for you to change the world. But I can't ask them these unreasonable things or dreams that seem unreasonable. A kid actually came back and said, you want me to change the world? Yeah, why not? How? I'm a kid. What do you mean? You're brilliant. You're brilliant. But if we don't see the brilliance in our kids, we're in trouble. If we don't see the pockets of potential, we're in trouble. I miss school so bad because I wonder if Sophia's caretakers know that she can't have carrots over the summer because it makes her sick. I want to know if Monte's grown over the summer. My job in the morning as I'm standing in my superhero pose in the hallway isn't just to keep peace. I'm reading every kid. I know who's happy. I know who usually has their light-on sneakers. I know what it means if they don't have on their light-on sneakers. I know whose parent I need to call if they didn't call me to let me know the light-up sneakers are broken. That's our job, is to inspect. We are diamond collectors, and that's our mission. To slay status quo, swift winning strategy. We can do this. We have to do it. Our kids depend on us to do this. And why not? What do we have to lose? Actually, we have to lose a lot. Society is calling. Kids want to know who's in charge. Are we going to answer the call and be swift and be better together? Or worse, are we going to take the money, go see a few monuments, go back to school, and do what we've always done? I propose the first. I say, we get it together, you figure out who you're going to be on your X-Men team, you decide that you want to slay some dragons, and you get your team together, you be swift, you go slay, and specialize in the impossible. Thank you so much.